Welcome to Conversations with Lauren and Ali, where we bridge all things in the spiritual and human experience.
This is a space where raw honesty meets higher truth, where personal stories open doors to deeper self-awareness, and where the messy, magical journey of being human is honoured as a sacred path of awakening. So, take a breath, get cozy, and join us in today's conversation.
I don't know whether it's the new moon. I feel slightly unsettled in the last 24 hours, but more from a place of also just wanting to slow everything down. I feel like I need to sort of pause or slow something down. Um, because I feel like I've been tracking okay with everything, but it's like I can feel it starting to get out of my reach. Um, and so I feel like this reset, or I can't even put my finger on it. But I found it really challenging to even just sit this morning in my morning breath work. Um, I couldn't keep my eyes closed, like my eyes kept popping open, like I was
Yeah.
thinking. So it was kind of funny, but I think I'm better than last week. I think the trajectory is starting to come back down. Um, but it's a funny, I don't know. What do you feel? Because I feel like I don't even know how to answer the question. I can't even put a finger on how I feel, but something feels different.
I feel the same, and I'm actually finding it hard to articulate it as well. But I feel that I feel the chaos. I feel the speed of the way
Yeah.
things feel like they're moving,
Yeah.
and and feeling like, yeah, oh, I think I need to hit the brakes a bit because otherwise I am going to start feeling overwhelmed. Um, I certainly do feel that shift as well from
Mhm.
I feel like it was connected to the solstice. I
Oh,
felt like
yeah.
I
Hmm.
felt over the weekend that that the energy shifted from what they've been from the
Yeah.
last
Yeah.
few weeks.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, something shifted, I feel like. But again, I'm not 100% sure what it is, but it
Hmm.
definitely feels like things are moving really fast. And
Hmm.
like you said, even though you feel like you're on top of everything, you feel like you're being really productive. In the back of your mind, you're sort of saying, hang on a minute, is this the way I want to operate? Is this the way I want to
Yes.
roll? Or am I doing too much? And I've noticed my channel has been off the Richter. Like you said, you're doing your breath work and you can't keep your eyes shut.
Yeah.
I'm finding it hard to actually, yeah, stop, slow down, clear my mind. I feel like for so long I've been in this big pause, and
Mm.
now my channel is like it's woken up again. It's like, okay, right, we're ready for business. We're back on. Here you go, bang. And I'm like, whoa. Oh, yeah. I don't know.
I was only thinking this morning, I feel like my channel has slowed. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if slowed is the right word. I don't even know if that is a word, but like I can sit and channel for you or for a client, no worries. But when I'm trying to tap into something for myself or discern something for myself or um, even just to plan like through the business and different things, it feels like it's like trying to move through, I don't know, concrete jelly, something thick, something thick. So it's really interesting. But I don't know if that's maybe just this happens quite a bit. And so maybe it is not quite a bit, but it happens in a cycle. It happens in a cycle. So maybe I just need to let that be what it is for now. Um, because I'm conscious of maybe I need to slow down. Maybe that's why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. There's an intense pressure that's coming in on my right side, even as I'm talking about this. Like I can feel it at the back here as well. Um, so it's that juggle, isn't it, of the human journey and doing the
Yeah.
human things and being the human,
And the right
navigating.
side of you feeling that is like that
Mhm.
masculine side is getting your attention, isn't it? That maybe it is trying to say to you, hey, not so much doing, you know, maybe pull it back a bit and sit in this pause and recognize and honor the pause. Like you said,
Mm,
your channel feels like it's slowed down or it's calmed down. It's like, you know,
hmm
um, yeah, maybe that is, well, it always is, isn't it? When we go through these cycles and you look back on it and you realize afterwards why everything slowed down and why you needed to pause. And you know that the pause will eventually come to an end and things will amp back up again.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And it makes sense because when I think about what I've been moving through, even just in this last 3 weeks, it's almost that point where you've waded through everything. This is the visual I'm getting right now anyway. I've waded through everything. And then it's like I'm coming out on the other side, and there's like this moment before you actually step into the new.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm feeling right now. It's like maybe I'm in that moment, the threshold moment. It is funny though, even as you talk about the masculine and the doing, when I reflect on, I think every session I've done this week has woven in somewhere about recalibrating the masculine and feminine energies. There's been a strong theme too about and I'm just speaking this aloud because I actually feel like the pieces have just dropped in for me about what I'm feeling. There was one particular session where she was invited to allow her masculine, inner masculine energy, sense of self, to trust in, to let the feminine support, to hold, to nourish, and to nurture that part of her. And it was this sort of play off of like, I see all that you're doing, I see all that you're trying to create, to protect and to achieve, but let me hold it for a little while. Like let me nourish you, nurture you, like recharge you. And I just realized as you were reflecting back to me then that that's what's happening for me in this moment. I'm
Mm.
just in that holding phase with that recalibration. I knew my nervous system was connected somehow, but that's what I'm feeling right now. It's like the balance of the union and harmony of the feminine and masculine, or yin and yang, if that
Yeah.
aligns better. I know sometimes um, to allow myself to recalibrate, because overwhelm is an old story of mine. It's an old
Yeah.
pattern of mine. And so I think that's the feeling I'm feeling at the moment is I would normally be feeling overwhelmed. And because I'm not, that's why it feels a bit strange. It feels a bit odd. Does that make sense?
Yes, it feels grown, but it also
Mm,
shows you that you've grown. Something's
yeah.
shifted because you haven't just automatically gone straight into overwhelm mode, um,
Mm,
which I am very familiar with as well. I know we've spoken about this together many times, how we both we both have to, have had to wade through that for a long time. Um, but it is interesting because usually it is the masculine who,
mhm,
the masculine side of us who is holding the space, who is
mhm,
doing the protecting and the don't worry, I've got this, or the doing, and the feminine just kind of, flows through, and it's that beautiful intuitive energy that just flows. So I think it's actually really cool, and I think it, it lines up with what you have brought forward to me in recent months around that, primordial, even
mhm,
feminine energy coming up. It's like you've been through this recalibration recently,
mhm,
letting that primordial, that darker feminine, that, more fierce, capable, that's not the right word, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, it's strong. Yeah. It's got its own strength. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm,
To say to the masculine, hang on a second, I've got
mm,
this. You just chill for a bit. You're feeling overwhelmed. You need to be in that pause and let me just do my thing.
mm, mm. It's pretty powerful when you stop and think about it and feel it.
Yeah.
Because even now I just feel a sense of calmness in myself of like, don't worry, it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all as it needs to be. And it actually makes me feel a little emotional because I don't know that I've ever felt that before.
Yeah. Wow. That's big, Ali. Yeah. I
It's a
think,
le
sorry, no, no, go here.
I was just going to say it's a level of support, that inner support that I have um, longed for, but never quite felt in this way right now. And it's echoing like the energy of the cosmic womb or the void. And it's kind of reminding me that I don't need to know everything in advance. Don't need to know even what's coming for tomorrow, like to allow myself to just surrender and trust more deeply in the path that is unfolding, the mystery that is unfolding. And it feels like it almost feels like the mother holding your hand as a child, but that the mother is holding my inner masculine by the hand and just, yeah, it feels really beautiful.
Wow. Sit in it.
Mm.
Yeah, it's interesting you use the word longing as well, like you've longed for that. Like you've been yearning for it. And what was dropping in was like, I wonder whether you always thought that that was going to come from an external source,
Hmm. Hmm.
maybe a partner, maybe work, maybe, it could be any number of things, but some sort of external source. And now you're feeling, hang on a minute, I've got this. Like, I can do this myself. I have this within me.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, this is very much tied into the people pleasing patterns, isn't it? And I recognize that I have in the past grappled with codependency in relationships and in friendships, connections, because I've outsourced everything. So thank you for that reflection because, yeah, I think this is something I had been trying to also achieve through the outward, the masculine action. And it's been here with me all along.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, this is so powerful. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you for holding the space.
Okay. It's it's all
And
you.
here was me saying, "Oh, I've got no idea what I want to share with you this week."
Never need to think about it. Yeah, the conversation just
Well,
moves.
I think partly because I didn't know how I was feeling. I couldn't put words to this feeling that was coming in until we started talking. Yeah. This is what makes our conversation so valuable, right?
It is. It's why what they've always done, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Just
Mm-hmm.
come to have a chat, and we always find, and it's funny that it's usually like week to week, isn't it? One week it's your week, the next week it's my week. Because last week I was a sick mess, and yeah,
Yeah.
yes. And do you know what? Actually, as I was listening to you talk about all of that stuff as well, I feel like there is a connection to what I moved through. Like I was feeling that ripple,
Mm-hmm.
um, the ancestral connection,
Mm-hmm.
um, with what you're going through right now. And it's almost as if the roles of the masculine and feminine and how we each individually understand them. I think we all have our own slightly differing view on what the masculine role is, what the feminine role is, and how those energies, like how we hold those energies, I suppose, from our
Mm-hmm.
experience, from our programming, the way we were raised, the way we looked at our parents, and all of that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that you possibly were just maybe seeing that you had shifted through some of that ancestral programming that you have, it was like I could see in your maternal line, the roles that the women in your line that have come before you, the way they have seen women, the way they have viewed the role of a woman, the role of the feminine, not from an energetic perspective, but from more of a physical perspective.
Yes.
The women
Yes.
do this and the men do that. So we are the people pleasers. We please the men. And I'm no feminist. I'm no feminist. I just want to clarify that. But that's what was sort of coming through was, yeah, this almost people pleasing or that kind of energy attached to the feminine maybe being a little, I don't want to use the word weaker, but that's kind of that's sort of what I'm feeling, like that they are always turning masculine to play that role and that they maybe are not capable of it or it's just not what they do. And it feels like now you've connected with and calibrated to that deeper primordial feminine energy that you have over the last couple of months, that it's stepping forward and saying, okay, hang on a minute, let's just clarify things here. Let's just get this straight.
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
feminine can do this too. And I think it all lines up with your journey, the journey of your life. Um, from
Mhm.
what you shared with me, being a single mum and playing both, you know, juggling the masculine and feminine roles. And when we're in that role of being a woman, being on our own with children, you dip further into the masculine because you are always you have to be everything, don't you? You are the
Yeah.
support. You're doing all of the jobs. You're doing playing all of the roles, and sometimes you do get caught up in that, and the roles get kind of woven together. And
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
suppose that happens energetically as well, doesn't it, when it's happening physically?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that even being prone to be in my masculine most of my life, and then kind of finding myself in that position, plus, of course, that sense of survival,
Yeah.
of like having to make sure that, the sense of responsibility of having to meet all of the needs of not just myself now, but another little person. That, yeah, I think all of that definitely wove in. And it's interesting you bring up the ancestors because I mean, I've done a lot, as you know, over the last 9 to 12 months, working with clearing a lot of that through my lineages. But particularly, it comes particularly through on my father's side on that. I don't know what you call that, but that maternal line on the on
Yeah.
my father's mother's line.
Yes.
And what's really interesting is now, as you were sharing that, I was reflecting on even just yesterday, I was sharing with my dear friend Michelle about this idea of masculine and feminine roles. And so it's funny that we're talking about this
Yeah.
today as well. But through that lineage, through what I have uncovered and what I've been transmuting, we're talking like also going back, over 60 generations from me as well. So it goes back a long way.
Mhm.
And a lot of it has to do with, yeah, that the subservience, the feeling of like I couldn't do what my heart wanted to do. I had to do what was expected of me. I had to play this role.
Mhm.
So I need someone to look after me. I need
Yeah.
someone.
That's exactly how it felt. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why I just wanted to reflect that back. You were spot on because that's what's been coming through. So it makes perfect sense now, of course, as to why that's really landing with me because that's been coming through repeatedly. And I actually got a bit frustrated a couple of weeks ago and I said to my guides, I know I signed up to do this through the family, but when does it stop? I need it to stop. Um, I've done enough. So it's interesting as well that I'm now possibly also allowing myself to see the completion of some of this for me. Um,
Yes,
And
that's
and
why
I
you
find
pause.
and yeah, exactly. And again, thank you, because now this is all dropping into place. But it's interesting too, because I'm not a feminist by any means, but I do understand the play between the two roles. And this is what I was sharing with Michelle the other day. We were talking about this because it's like we've kind of gone we've gone from one extreme to the other, and we're in that pendulum of finding the balance. We are finding the balance,
Within that.
and
Mm,
because I feel like there's this sense of looking at my ancestors, everything was about, um, I grew up thinking I would just be a housewife because that's just what happened, you know. Um,
that's exactly, yeah.
yeah, and I don't diminish the role that the women played in the family because, in all honesty, when I look back, the women on both my generation, both my maternal and paternal lines, were way stronger than the men and actually led so much in a way that they didn't even realize.
Wow.
But coming into our generation, I think there's something to be remembered in the primordial feminine, the strength that is softness, but is power,
Yes.
that is leadership,
Yes.
that is trust, that is safety,
Hmm.
and that she provides that support to the masculine
Yes.
to allow the masculine to take the action and do the
Yeah.
things
Hmm.
to work in that harmonious union.
Yeah.
And that's what we are doing, isn't it? As part of this human journey, is reconciling that within ourselves
Yeah.
and on a broader scale, reconciling that through humanity.
Yeah. Because it's like there are these distortions or so many differing perceptions on the roles of the masculine and the feminine externally, physically, collectively. But then, so how do we think that, it's happening within us as well, is what I'm trying to say. You know,
Mhm.
I don't know if distortions is the right word, but sometimes confusion, sometimes just things are just out of balance, you know. It's I think also a big part of our journey is really learning to balance and figure out what the divine feminine energy feels like and what the divine masculine energy feels like. It's happening within and without.
And I think sometimes we also get caught up on the gender role of that and the basis, which is sometimes why I'll swap that and say yin and yang, because I think when we're talking about the inner energy, people can get a little bit confused when we say feminine and masculine. But it's
Mm.
for me, I like to clarify too, it's the idea of that frequency, isn't it? It is
Yeah, it's not the man and the woman. It's
no,
that's going to be absolutely influenced by whatever our perceptions of those are, depending on
exactly.
what our programming is, depending on what we've experienced. Yeah.
And so I would also say the balance comes from both genders as well. And I reflect on how often, even in paternal ancestral work with myself or with clients, there is a lot of the same things too about this feeling of we should be doing this. It's a role that we have.
Yeah.
This is the narrative, this is the story, this is what must be done. So maybe the distortion link too is in the roles inherently that were um, created because there were many men who also were not able to do what they wanted to do,
Mm.
were not able to live in the way that they wanted to live. And that created a cycle, I think, like rage is what's popping into my awareness because they were frustrated at not being able
Yeah.
to live their truth as well.
Right.
So of course that's where we see the friction or the resistance or whatever you want to call it, I think between the two, because they both were rising up in the ways that they were being restricted. Uh, and I don't know, for whatever reason, I guess the feminine dropped into that subservient kind of place.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I suppose the nature of the feminine
Is to
could,
soften.
yeah, and if you
Mm,
kind of take advantage of that,
mm.
it can go too far the other way. Yeah.
Well, that's a good point because when I think about my own personal relationship experiences and I think about how you take hit after hit after hit in the way of, I'm not talking physically, maybe hit is the wrong word, but just even things that are said to you. And this applies to anything. It doesn't have to be within a relationship either, because, I've had this happen in the workplace as well.
Yeah.
And it's actually really interesting for anyone to look at these patterns where they show up, because in a lot of review of my life, I've noticed where I found myself in these situations in the workplace. I had very aggressive, dominant men um, uh, who didn't treat their employees very well, women as well, actually. But it was like a pattern of that. But so that's what I'm saying. When you are spoken to in a particular way, you're treated in a particular way, and it's not even like on a physical level, but the mental and emotional. It does kind of just naturally weigh you down, doesn't it, and push you down.
It does.
And I can remember a particular point in my life feeling like I was a shell of myself. Um, and that makes sense why when you come out of that, you are in survival. You are in that masculine energy because you need to do something. You need to look after yourself, or you need to survive in a particular way, don't you?
Yeah.
Um, which is why, and I don't even know if this is making any sense, but I feel like why some of the deepest work that we do, particularly when we're representing the feminine form or representing the feminine, but I also don't think, I think it applies to anybody, is we need to go into the primordial depths within us to go through all of those layers, to go through it, to meet our true power, to remember our true power, to restore that true power that was underneath. And I don't want to limit that to those in the female form, because I actually can feel the frequency of men who are in that energy as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm. And it can feel frightening and
mm,
confronting
mm,
dipping into that energy for the first time because it can feel really foreign because it's not what we usually associate the feminine energy to feel like. And I think this is why
mm.
some people maybe even fear the dark feminine
Yeah.
or just
Mm,
naturally think because there's the word dark attached to it or
mhm,
even primordial feminine like it
mhm.
sounds whoa fierce, doesn't it? um,
Yeah.
but I think people just go, oh, that's dark,
Mm,
I don't want to go there, that's not nice.
mhm.
But it's part of us. And like you said, that's where so much of our true power
It's where the
sits.
gold is.
Yeah.
It's where the gold is.
Mm. Yeah.
And that's alchemy.
Yeah.
That process is alchemy, isn't it? And I reflect on that as well. I don't know about you, but I used to always fear the dark. Now, that's probably for a multitude of reasons.
Yeah.
But even as an adult, I would not want to be in a dark room. Like I would want to leave lights on. And it's only been in the last couple of years doing this really um, potent inner work, like really meeting myself in the depths within, that I've actually been able to shift that and to actually feel comfortable, to feel safe, and to realize there's nothing to be afraid of in the dark. So I
Wow.
think when you spoke of that as well, I think that's also what puts people off because we hear darkness, we think of negative, don't or like it's something bad. Um, but really it's just meeting the hidden parts of you. It's meeting the stuff that you've pushed down, you've buried,
Yeah,
suppressed. And in, you know, probably our generation, it's a lot of ancestral connection as well that we're clearing.
yeah, definitely.
But there is
Definitely.
so much freedom and liberation that comes from moving into those spaces and places. However, I acknowledge it's not comfortable, and both you and I know because we're in the fire more times than we're not with this. But that is the path of not even just the divine feminine. That's the path of the mastery, isn't it? You know, we've spoken a lot about our shared journey here in self
Yeah,
mastery, and this is all part of that.
yeah,
And I think this is where sometimes, I mean, we're hearing more about it now, but in the spiritual community, it's not spoken about enough. Um, and so I think people get turned off when they realize they've actually got to face themselves and do meet the dark places within and sit in that uncomfortableness
yes.
more
Everyone,
often than not.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah. Yes, it's not all love and light, is it? The way I think most people are aware of that now. But it seems like, yeah, sitting in the uncomfortableness can just feel like too much, or
Mm,
the fear can take over, the fear of going into the shadows, into the darkness. And
mm.
I that example, that physical example that you just gave of after doing all of this work and becoming comfortable in the darkness, in the depth, that's coming from the depths of you, and clearing that fear and going, yeah, okay, you know what? Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but there is actually nothing to fear there. To the point where you can be comfortable in a physical dark room with no light
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
is, yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was really eye-opening, I've got to say, when I realized that had happened. Um, and I think this is a misconception as well that you have to do something all the time. I was also speaking about this week with someone that I recognize too, where I am still trying to do something. And so that even when I started this conversation this morning with how I was feeling, I was just trying to let myself be okay that I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to name it. I didn't know, like nothing needed to happen. I just needed to sit there. And in the end, I let myself sit with my eyes open. I let myself sort of like look about the room. I even picked up my phone a few times and answered a few messages. And it was just like, it's okay. Just like let it be what it is. And I think that drive from our masculine energy as well is like wanting to fix it, but also wanting to like move past it, like get through it and kind of like, oh, I don't want to feel that. I'm going to try and like clear the path and move through. Whereas all we really need to do is give it space and just feel it
Yeah.
because we just need to feel whatever we're feeling. Um, and I know we've spoken about this so many times as well, but that's the part of the human journey. It's the feeling and not being designed to hold the emotion or to hold all of this stuff. We were meant to experience it and move it through, move it on. The emotion, the energy in motion piece is something worth remembering, isn't it? When it's just like feel it, let it be there, and don't let it mean like don't let it make another story. Don't let it contribute to the narrative, the distortion any longer. Just see it, just notice it and be
Yeah.
with it.
That's it. But if we don't allow ourselves the time to stop and pause and just be and stop
Mhm.
feeling the need to be doing all the time,
Hmm.
We kind of just go straight, we skim straight over the top of things, don't we?
Yep.
We don't let that emotion, that energy in motion move through us. It just kind of sits in there because we're too busy. We're always doing, we're always like, okay, what's next? Oh, I've got to be productive. Let's go, let's hustle, you know?
Hmm.
And when we take the time to just stop, and it's probably why you had to take that time this morning. And even it felt like that at the beginning of the conversation when you were
Hmm.
just sitting, and we were just sort of sitting there. Remember there was that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think I could just sit with it, you know, because I there was nothing else for me to say. You needed that time. That just showed in real time how
Hmm.
this worked. You just need
Yeah.
in it for what we were going to talk about to
Yeah.
to move through you. Yeah.
That's so true. That is a great example of what I was just trying to, yeah, articulate, in that if we give ourselves the space and the time and we allow. I don't think, if I speak personally, that's taken me a long time to learn though, because I think I don't want to feel it. I think, well, there's something I need to clear here. Or I don't have time. I don't have time to like sit with this. I want to be focused on this, or I just plain don't want to feel it. I don't want to feel it. And so something that I feel like probably added time to my experience of learning, although really I know that everything happens for a reason and a purpose. So of course it's happened that way so that I can now talk about it. And this is what I say to people. The more that you allow yourself to feel, if you stop to pause to feel, to sit in the uncomfortableness, the quicker you'll move through it. And there's one client of mine that's coming to mind at the moment because she's been having a session every week for the last 4 weeks, I think. And she said to me yesterday, I can't believe how quickly, like, I'm moving through, how quickly things are shifting, and that I'm actually embodying it. So something that was that triggering her a week ago, that we spent some time with, a week later, it didn't bother her anymore.
Mhm.
And I was saying to her that this exact same thing. It's because you're meeting it, you're holding it, you're being with it, allowing it, and then also knowing you can just let it move through you. So I think that the mind is, or the ego is bringing us to this place of making it complicated, or trying to complicate it, trying to overcomplicate it as well, when it can be as simple as that if we just follow some basic kind of steps instead of this elaborate, oh, I have to go on a journey and do a ceremony and do this and do that, when all I need to do is, as you just pointed out, is sit for 5 minutes even, and just let it drop through, feel it and drop it through.
Yeah. And realize and accept that, yeah, it might be uncomfortable. You know, you might cry,
Yeah.
you might feel,
Angry.
shifting. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. But we're not taught this stuff, are we? We're not
No.
we're not taught this stuff. A lot of the time people are taught quite the opposite, you know. I reckon many of us are being told quite the opposite.
Mhm.
You keep it in. You know, when I was in the police, that was one of the biggest things
Mm.
was no, I mean, I'm sure it's different now, but no, you don't really need to talk about it. I remember
Stuff it
being,
down.
yeah, literally being told by a senior sergeant after I went to a very traumatic incident. I was only a young constable then. And he said to me, you know what I like to do, Lauren? I like to take whatever that is, put it in a little box,
Oh.
store that box away. Just store it away. You don't need to, it's away in the box. And, back then I had no idea about any of this. And yeah, I was like, okay, cool. I'll give that a go. Didn't work very well.
No.
Quite a few years down the track, yeah, that box opened up and exploded everywhere. But anyway, Yeah,
Which is
like
what
that's
happens when you stuff it down too, right? Or you push it away.
yeah.
Mm. Well, how have you navigated that? How has your experience been with exploding boxes, opening boxes?
I don't recommend letting the box explode. In fact, I don't recommend having the box there ever at all. Don't create a
Hmm.
box, put things in it, and tuck it away at the back of your mind. It's not healthy.
No.
And I often wonder how that senior sergeant is, emotionally these days. Um, oh, look, for me, it was a long journey. It was definitely a long journey, and I didn't have the luxury of going through that box and taking it piece by piece, piece by piece. By the
Mhm.
time it exploded and I became very emotionally unwell, um, the pieces were everywhere. They were all mixed together.
Mhm.
If that makes sense, I
Mhm.
could go
Mhm.
through each one.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
it took me quite a number of years to begin to sort of sort them out, sort the pieces
Yes.
of the box out, the contents of the box out. But that took a long time. And looking back, it's no wonder I remember that conversation. I can remember exactly where I was standing in the police station, who it was with. I'll never forget that because I think I learned I learned a lot from that. Uh,
Mhm.
I learned what not to do, and yeah, um, these days, thanks to many, many years of going through the
Mhm.
content of that box and seeing psychologists, psychiatrists,
Mhm.
all the things, I actually found that not a lot of that worked for me. Um, that's sort of how I got thrown. That is the point that I got thrown onto that sort of awakening journey.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, I started to do things for myself. I realized that I could actually do things in a different way.
Mhm.
Uh, and that was just that simple realization, like you said, of no, you've got to stop, you've got to feel it, and you've got to let it move.
Mhm.
And yeah, um, I'll live by that now.
Hmm.
I live by that. Mm.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that because I think that that's important for many people to also see and to understand that this is where we have power too, right? The power by choosing to open the boxes one at a time in our time versus putting them away and waiting till the day that they
Explode.
explode or they're so full that they've got nowhere to go but um, to pop out. And I think that that's something where as much as, you can be nervous about it or you can be fearful, worried, you know, maybe concerned that it's going to take you into a deeper, darker place. That if you just take it one step at a time, you just one small box at a time, or one part of you, one emotion. Maybe you see someone that can hold that space for you. Um, and effectively, I mean, you've just modeled that for me at the start of this session. That's what holding space is too, isn't it? It is just allowing the person to speak into it and feel into it and find their way to it.
Thank you for joining us in this space of truth, reflection, and connection. If today's conversation stirred something within you, we invite you to sit with it, journal on it, or share it with someone who walks the path of self-awareness too.
These conversations are living transmissions, and we are so grateful to be on this journey with you. Until next time, remember your human experience is sacred and you are never walking alone.
With love, Lauren
And Ali.